Welcome to Swords, Spears, and Arrows with Camille Babin, a podcast that features messages on spiritual formation, soul care, and a book club to help you win the battle within.
Hello and welcome to Swords, Spears, and Arrows. I'm your host, Camille Babin. Today I have a question for you. Who gets to make decisions in your life? Who has the final say over the things that you do, the things that you say, the place you go, the people you hang out with, and all these different things? Because there are so many decisions that we have to make on a daily basis. From the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep, we have to make decisions, and more decisions than we can even imagine or realize. You decide either you're going to snooze your alarm or you're going to get up. You decide what you're going to have for breakfast, if you're going to eat breakfast. You decide if you're going to stay in or go out. I mean, there are many choices that we get to make, and they're very in size, they're very in importance, they're very even in impact. And I've heard recently someone say, you have a brain, so you get to choose. You have a mind, even God gave you a mind to think of you on your own, so you get to choose. And that is true. God gave us a brain, He gave us a mind, He gave us intelligence to think for ourselves. God is never asking us to stop thinking. He's never asked us to stop using our brain or even to stop increasing our knowledge. But what God is asking us is to stop relying on our own, is to stop relying on our strength, to stop relying on our wisdom, to stop relying on the opinions of men or even the things that seem so right. And there's this proverb that I really love so much. It said, before every person, there is a path that seems like the right one to take, but it leads straight to destruction. And I mean, it couldn't be more true, because there are many decisions that we've made, but they didn't yield the consequences that we expected. And then we wonder, how did that happen? I really thought that was the right thing. I really thought I made the right decision, but yet it didn't produce the result that I wanted. And you feel disappointed, and you feel hurt, and you feel defeated, and sometimes you give up. There are decisions that you have to make even for the sake of your family, for the sake of your company, your business, your friendships. I mean, so many decisions that we have to make that we know not only affect us, but they affect even our children, they affect our family, they affect our employees or our co-workers, or I mean, it affects so many people, not just us. But how do you know what to choose? How do you know that that's the right decision, that's what you're supposed to do or not? And you don't know unless God leads you. You don't know unless God gives you those words. You really don't know unless you yield to Him. And I want today to remove that idea, if that's really the thought that you had, and thinking that being in charge and being strong really means that you let no one, not even God, tell you what to do. That you just have to come up with the next big idea and with the great solution, the greatest solution, and the greatest strategy. If you really think that's your definition of being strong and powerful, then I beg to differ. Because being strong, I think it's having even the willingness and the strength to know and to be able to know that you can choose, that you have that power, that you have the knowledge, that you have the strength, but yet you choose to put it into someone else's hands, because you have the humility to recognize that God knows more than you do. And God wants the best that you could ever want for yourself. So if you're convinced that God wants the best for your life, don't you think it makes sense for you to seek Him? And there's this idea or this perspective that most people have, or many people have, that we're being lazy when we leave it up to God, that we're being naive or even stupid, for lack of better term. I'm sorry, but that's the word that is used. They really think that we're just silly and foolish when we decide to seek God and ask God and pray, and they feel like prayer is for lazy. Prayer is for people who just don't want to make a decision, and they rather, shift that responsibility onto someone else. But this is not the point at all. They're missing the whole point. Prayer is more than that. Prayer is seeking God's will, but it's entering into a conversation with someone who knows more than you do. They don't think it's naive or foolish to go to the mechanic when the car breaks down. They don't think it's naive to go see the doctor when something's wrong with their body. They don't think it's foolish to pick up a manual to find out how this thing works, or the new toy or the new gadget that they bought works, even to look at how their phone works and the different apps. They don't think that's foolish. But yet they think it's foolish to go to the creator, to the manufacturer, and ask him how you work, how your body works, how your life works, when he gave you that life. He knows the not only the beginning, but he knows the end. And the decisions or the counsels and the advices that God gives us, it doesn't just take in consideration the now. God knows the past, he knows the now, and he knows the future. So when he gives an answer, when he gives a direction, he's weighing all these things in. He has factored every detour. He has factored every person. He's factored every mistake that we don't even know we're going to make. He's already rerouted before we even, start the journey. He's already calculated the route, the distance, and the people and intersection, and everything. And don't you think that's wisdom? Wisdom to just place your life into the hands of the one who gave you that life in the first place. And why am I saying that today? Because many people are feeling hopeless right now, and helpless and defeated and striving and toiling and laboring and struggling. They're doing all of that, and even maybe it's you today. You find yourself hustling when you should have rest, and you don't understand why you don't have rest. Maybe because you rely too much on your intelligence. Maybe because you rely too much on your own wisdom. Maybe because you haven't tapped into God's wisdom and God's will and God's plan for your life. And I think that's really the difficulty we find right now in our society, that we have so many people that think being strong and powerful means being independent. But how much can you be independent when your life is not your own? You don't get to decide how many breaths you're going to take a day. You don't get to decide how many hair you have. You don't get to decide, whether you live or die. You don't get to decide those things. We may think that we get to decide, but you don't get to decide how long you're going to live. You can make those plans, but at the end, you don't know. You can say, I'm going to live to 100 years old, but you don't know. You don't know your tomorrow. So I think wisdom wants us, even requires us, to seek God in everything that we do, to rely on his wisdom, to ask him. You stuck because you don't know which way to go. You don't know even should I take this contract or should I not? Should I make this business deal or should I not? Should I take this job or should I not? Should I move my family across the nation? And should I take this gig or not? There are many decisions, even my kids to college, which school to go. It's so much easier when you ask the one who knows everything, because he knows the people you're supposed to connect with. He knows the opportunities you're supposed to take. He knows what your destiny is all about and the path that leads to your destiny. He knows it. And when he gives you something, it's always with the destination in mind. He knows where you're supposed to arrive at what time. And I've heard recently someone say, wisdom is doing the right thing with the right people at the right time. And that is just so amazing. It's cool. It made me smile when I heard it. Wisdom is doing the right thing with the right people at the right time. And this sound like, oh yeah, that's wisdom. I have wisdom because I know, who I have to get in partnership with. I know I have wisdom. I'm wise because I know that's the right thing. I can detect the right moment to just, close this deal and make this move. But how are you really sure that you know? How do you determine the right time, the right thing, the right people? Because we've made those decisions before and we didn't get the result that we expected. We've met people and had friendships and had relationships, that turn sour. We thought they were good. We thought, they were kind, they were honest, they were nice people. We thought they loved us. And yet it didn't happen the way we wanted. So we made a mistake. We made errors. We lacked sometimes good judgment. And that is fine. And that's really why God is inviting us to rely on Him. And you may say, I've been fine all my life. I've climbed many mountains. I'm right now, it's like in the prime of my life. I don't need someone else to tell me what to do. I definitely don't need God's advice because so far I've been doing good. But you're striving. You're stressed out. Every time people expect you to make decision, you expected, to come up with something new, something original, a new idea, a new solution, a new strategy, whether it be in your business or in your job, finding the answer to a problem, because most of us, we can admit that we were designed or created to answer a problem. We are a solution to a problem. Maybe you haven't identified yet what problem or what solution you bring. But how would you find out if you don't ask the person who sent you here on this earth in the first place? How can you continue to strive when there is a better way? And I think that's really my message today. There is a better way. There is a better way. Not the way that we think is right, seems like the right one to take, but the way that the way God has for us. He's the way. And He doesn't want us to continue to strive. He doesn't want you to keep struggling, to keep striving. He doesn't want you to try this and try that and go here and go there and make all these mistakes and lose your money and lose your time and lose your focus and lose your hope, even your health, over things that He could have guided you on. Things that He could have shown you, revealed to you, if only you took maybe a time, 2 minutes to ask Him, seek Him. What do you have to lose really? You're not going to lose more sleep than you've already had. You will not lose more weight than you already had. You will not have more gray hair than you already have. So I think today I just want to encourage you and invite you to do something different. If you've never done it before, you've never let God or allowed Him to show you, reveal to you the plans that He has for your life, or the way that you can conduct your business, even your meeting, just ask Him. Say, Lord, maybe I'm not sure about this thing, but give me an answer. Show me the way. And it doesn't mean that you're stupid or you're naive or, you're weak. All it means is you're willing to consider an alternative. You're willing to weigh your own ideas, weigh God's ideas, and see which one will take you further. And I can already guarantee, there's not even a shadow of a doubt. God's way are higher, and they can definitely take you higher than you even want to go. It will always take you beyond where you can see what you can see. I don't even have to read to you the Bible and show you all these examples throughout of people who didn't think, more for themselves, who couldn't even see how their lives could be transformed. And yet, look what happened. And you can say, yes, maybe sometimes God's options seem foolish. God's options seem not strong enough. They seem too easy. And maybe that's what God wants for you. He wants the easy way for you. He doesn't want the hard road. And I'm not saying that God doesn't require sacrifice, but He doesn't want the striving. He doesn't want the toiling. And I have to share that story real quick about the disciples. There was Peter. If you haven't never heard this story, Jesus had His disciples. He selected 12. He chose 12 disciples to follow Him and walk closely with Him so that, He could really teach and show the ways of the kingdom. And Peter was one of them, and Peter was a fisherman. And there's this parable, this story that tells us that Peter fished all night. He knew, he was an expert fisherman, and he worked all night, and he didn't catch any fish, nothing at all. And when Jesus came up to him and He told him, launch your nets on this side, on the other side, the first answer Peter gave, he said, I've already done that all night. I've been fishing all night. I didn't catch anything. In a way, He was telling him, man, I know the rope. I know the ways. I've tried it all. It didn't work. I didn't have all the strategy. I've been fishing all my life. And you a carpenter, you don't know much. You can't tell me which way to go, what to do. And in the natural, that's what we say. That's what we do. We feel like it's my life. It's my business. It's my family. It's my marriage. It's my body. I know what's best for me. We feel like God doesn't really know. God doesn't really see. He doesn't know what he's talking about. We feel like God is God and he lives in that bubble and he doesn't know the reality of that world, or he doesn't know, he's not about that life. He doesn't know what's happening in this current century. We think it's just like an old grumpy man, who lived like decades ago and now he's just coming and he wants to tell us what to do. No. And in the same story, Peter at some point he said, okay, like kind of, I think I could picture him, just raising his shoulders up saying, oh, well, if you say so, at your word. Like basically, I don't really believe it, but if you say so, I'm just going to do it. And the end of the story, if you don't know, if you've never heard it, the story ends with Peter catching so many fishes that the net broke. There was an overflow. There was an abundance. There was more than he was even prepared for. He caught more fish. He had to call other people to come and help. And I think that's what God wants you to know today. He wants you to know that if you choose his way, he can bring to you more than you can ever wish for yourself. He can bring to you more than you can even, that you will walk in overflow. You will walk in abundance. You will not have just enough. You will have more than enough. Not just for yourself, but you will be able to call other people and bless them. You will be able to give those resources out. You will be able to even help people start their own business, their own ministry, their own whatever God has assigned even for them. You will be able to do it because the Bible even tells us that the one who believes in God, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. So that means you will even be able to work in the ability to create life, to give life, to share that life even, and to pour it into other people, pour it even into other people's cups. And right now, not only you're struggling to make ends meet, you're struggling to even get your business to the next level. You're struggling to get your family to that next season of life that you know that God has promised you, but you're not there yet and you don't know how to get there. So I'm just begging, just be humble and ask God to come into your life right now and to show you the way. Tell him maybe what I've done, maybe it worked, but that's not it. There is more. Maybe it works, but after that, I'm just exhausted. I'm tired, or I'm feeling depleted, or I'm feeling lonely, or it works in that aspect of my life. But then when I look, maybe like it works maybe in your professional life, but then your personal life is not where it's supposed to be. Or the other way around. Your personal life, you're striving, and in your personal, your professional life, you're struggling. Either way, God is not calling you and I to live, it shouldn't be up on one side and down on. He said to prosper. We prosper in all aspects of life. You prosper in your health. You prosper in your soul. You prosper in your finances. You prosper in your relationship. You prosper in your mind. You prosper even in the decisions that you make. So if you haven't heard anything today, wisdom is knowing the right thing. Is doing the right thing with the right people at the right time. But wisdom, I will say, wisdom is letting God be God. Wisdom says God knows best. Wisdom says God is in charge. Wisdom say I follow God and that's my decision. So you still get to choose at the end of the day. You get to make the decision. You have the final say whether you're going to follow the ways of God or you're going to follow the ways of man. You get to decide whether you will stick to your method and your practices or you resort to a better way. You resort to God's way. And there is no comparison, not just as far as the results, but even the timing and how the flow of things, how it happens. Because I've realized even in my own life that the more I rely on myself, the less I'm productive, the less productive I am. And it doesn't even yield the result that I expect. And even if it does, I've realized in doing things that I choose to do for myself, that I don't get the level of satisfaction that I expected when I began. It's like you think something, you said, oh, this is what I'm going to do. You get excited and you already picture where you will end and how much joy or happiness you will get from it. And then you get to that level, you get that thing, and you realize that it's not as excited as you thought it was going to be. You realize that you're not as happy as you thought you will be, or you don't feel as successful as you thought you were going to be. On the other hand, I've realized that since I've decided to just trust God completely and surrender my will to His and embrace His ways as being my own, I've realized that, it's always better than what I could imagine. It's like the simple thing. It's always better. The things that I would be like, I didn't think I would be, but then you find yourself being more happy. You find yourself feeling more successful. You find yourself reaching a level of satisfaction that is beyond your expectation. So I will leave you with that today. And I'm just praying with you that today you will choose. You will have the final say in choosing which way to follow. Choose God's way, because His way is certainly the way that will take you on the path of life. It will lead you straight to life and everlasting life. Not your way, not your wisdom, not your intellect, not the opinions of men. So if that's what you've been doing and you find yourself struggling and restless, God is calling you into a place of peace, into a place of joy, into a place of freedom, and into a place of abundance. So God bless you, and I talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to Swords, Spears, and Arrows with Camille Babin. If you would like to find out more, check our website, www.havilasolutions.com, or follow us on Facebook and Instagram @Havila Solutions. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any episode.